Hi, everyone. My name is Jason Archuleta, and I am a licensed clinical social worker here at Blomquist Hill. I've been here about 3 years. I really love what I do, and I love this company. Today, we are going to talk about spiritual wellness. So the main ideas of today in spiritual wellness are, first of all, what is it? We're going to define it. Um, Talk about why it's important, and then how can I measure or recognize it in my life? Am I doing it? My guess is you're here because this is an important topic for you. So making sure we're recognizing it in our daily lives. And then how can I create and improve my practice, my brand of spiritual wellness in my daily life? These may be tips and tricks you may have already used or tried, or maybe we're giving you a new take on them, or these will feel like new things. And just to let you know, Heather will jump in between the slides if any of you have questions, either by asking them through the audio or by asking Heather, and then she will ask me those questions. So, first of all, what is spiritual wellness? We're going to break down some parts into it. Wellness and well-being, the wellness wheel, spirituality, spiritual well-being, and wellness. So wellness and well-being are usually defined as a proactive approach to health that focuses on preventing illness and optimizing physical and mental functioning. Think of it as the basic steps to feeling good. The daily habits and choices that keep our bodies and minds running smoothly. Well-being is a little more things like like satisfaction, life satisfaction, sense of purpose, social connections, and personal growth. While wellness focuses on what you do, well-being is more about who you are and how you experience life. And we'll use wellness and well-being interchangeably in this presentation. So just a little bit of a difference. Wellness is about the things we do to prevent illness and keep our bodies, minds, and souls healthy. Well-being is how we are and how we experience those wellnesses and well-being. The wellness wheel captures 7 areas of wellness in our life. So sometimes in therapy, I will give clients this wellness wheel and we will evaluate it. How do I feel I'm doing in my social wellness? Am I meeting enough people? Do I have people I can talk to? Do I feel fulfilled in those relationships? Occupational, am I doing work or hobbies or things that are adding to my wellness? Do I have a sense of purpose when it comes to work? Environmental. Am I creating environments at my house, my yard, my job that are sustaining my wellness and making and adding to the happiness? Emotional. Am I feeling my emotions? Am I dealing with them? Again, there's no right or wrong way, but do I feel I'm dealing with my emotions and the things that are coming at me in ways that feel healthy and sustainable. Physical, am I getting enough exercise? How's my diet? Am I contributing to my sense of overall physical well-being? Intellectual, am I reading, learning, challenging myself, challenging my beliefs, talking to people, all those things. And finally, the thing we're here to today, spiritual. What is my sense of purpose? Do I feel connected to something higher than myself? How is my spiritual wellness? So by spirituality, we mean the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul as opposed to the material or physical things. Some people do believe in a physical spirit or a soul. Native Americans talk about the Great Spirit. We talk about different religions or faith communities do talk about spirit being something that kind of works through these. Some people have talked about the spirit being the wind or the air, but this is really the quality of being concerned with our spirit and not just our bodies, and can mean the mind or the heart as well. Spirituality is about a sense of purpose, a sense of connectedness to ourselves and others, or to a higher power, if we believe in that. It is a quest for wholeness. So it is that quest for those seven wedges of that wheel being together, and we do that through the spirit. Search for hope and harmony, a belief in a higher being or higher beings, some level of transcendence or a sense that there is more to life than the material or the practical. Those activities that give our lives meaning. Spirituality is not a single path or a belief system. There are many ways to experience a spirituality and the benefits of a spiritual experience. This might involve the belief in a higher power, a specific religious practice. And we'll talk about the difference in a second. It may involve experiencing a sense of connection to a higher state or a sense of interconnectedness with humanity and nature. So spiritual wellness, then, if we take all of those together, is the ability to experience and integrate meaning and purpose in life through a person's connectedness with self, others, art, music, literature, nature, and or a power greater than oneself. How do we connect to the world around us? Why is spiritual well-being important? It helps us to find purpose and meaning. Exploring our spirituality can help people find answers to philosophical questions such as, what is the meaning of life? Or what purpose does my life serve? It can be a collective sense of purpose and meaning, like we are here to care for each other and care for the earth and be loving. Or a personal, I feel my purpose uh, is to share my gifts, whether that's music or art, or to help people or to raise my children to be good people. It helps us cope with feelings of stress, depression, and anxiety. Spiritual experiences can be helpful when coping with stresses of life. Now, unfortunately, many of us have maybe some religious trauma. Again, we're going to get into the differences between religion and spirituality. So sometimes, often people who come from people who leave cults or dangerous religious institutions will have a lot of trauma. And so it's helping them get back into the sense of spirituality, which is maybe different than the religion or the higher power. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. But yes, spiritual well-being can help us cope with those feelings of stress, depression, and anxiety. It gives us, again, that sense of purpose so we can have an experience in coping. And was there a question?
It doesn't look like it. I think they accidentally unmuted.
Okay, no
Oh,
worries.
you're good.
It helps us to restore hope and optimism. Spirituality can help people develop a more healthful outlook on life. Things are hard, but I can do it. I am supposed to be here. I can continue my mission or what I'm trying to work on. It helps us find a sense of community and support because spiritual traditions often involved organized religions or groups. Becoming part of such a group can serve as an important source of social support. I have other people who are doing this thing and have similar beliefs, and so we can help support each other. Benefits of spiritual well-being, better mental health. Evidence indicates that spirituality and religious practices have a variety of mental health benefits, including lower anxiety, depression, and to reduce substance use. It gives us a reason to keep with our recovery programs. Greater happiness and well-being. Research also shows that spirituality is also linked to increased happiness, subjective well-being, and overall life satisfaction. So if I feel connected to something higher than myself, I have that sense of purpose, I will tend to be happier and my well-being will be greater even in times of stress or those hard times. Better stress coping. If I'm connected to a spiritual practice or a tradition, I will also tend to be more resilient, meaning my ability to bounce back when things are hard. Doesn't mean I get through it easier or faster than anyone else necessarily, but it means I will be able to bounce back. And then I am better able to cope with various life stressors. And finally, an increased social support. Participating in spiritual or religious practices is associated with having a broader social support network. How do we know we're experiencing spirituality? Again, I look at this little girl in this picture and really see that sense of awe and wonder that she is connecting to those fish in a way. Maybe she's never seen them before, or maybe there's, but I think it's not just that awe. I think there's this awe and wonder in her. So this may cause us to we our spiritual when we find ourselves asking deep questions about topics such as suffering or what happens after death. We alluded to that earlier, a couple slides ago, in what and why am I here? What is my purpose in life? What happens after this life? Deepening connections with other people, not just, hey, how are you? In my tradition, we will sometimes ask, how is it with your soul? Not just how you are, not just the arthritis or the gout or your daughter's wedding, which are, of course, important. But how are you feeling? Now it's kind of hard for me to see my daughter get married, even though I'm happy for her, but it feels like our relationship is different, and I'm thinking about that in a different way. Experiencing compassion or empathy for others. Never overlook that compassion comes from the words calm, which are from which we get community or to be with, and passion, which literally means to suffer. Um, it's about suffering with, or how I like to say it, being with people in whatever it is they're going with. I'm with them. I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it with them. And then again, empathy works with being able to experience or understand the emotional or the interior world of another. That doesn't mean I feel exactly what they're feeling, but I understand what it is like to have a family member get married. I understand what it is like to have a physical ailment, even though I may not have arthritis, but know what it's like to get migraines. And to when we experience feelings of interconnectedness, when I just know I've met someone before, or I can't explain it, but there's something about them, the way they look at me, the way we look at each other, that just tells me that we're interconnected. And that again, it brings us to those feelings of awe and wonder, feelings like this little girl in this picture, that this is awesome. When I go up into the mountains and it's just endless mountains or the streams, or oh my gosh, how did that work? Or I saw a whale breach and this thing is like the size of a school bus. And that's amazing and awesome and beautiful. Seeking happiness beyond material possessions or external rewards. I'm not just doing this to get into a good afterlife or for the money. I'm doing this because I like to do it. I'm helping people because I want to. I don't need to buy stuff. I just want to have the experience. I just want to be in this open field um, up in Snowbird and walk around. I don't need to buy stuff or do anything. The experience is what it is. Seeking meaning and purpose, which we've talked about before. Why am I here? What gives my a sense of purpose for me? And then part of it is wanting to make the world a better place. So a little bit of vocabulary here, spirituality versus religion. So spirituality really can be practiced individually or in a group. It does not have to adhere to a specific set of rules. It is your own. Um, or it can be your group of people. How do we experience this by ourselves or together? And it often focuses on a personal journey of discovering what is meaningful in our lives. Whereas religion is often practiced in a community and is usually based on a specific set of rules. So most Christians are going to use the Bible, although you may use different versions. Catholics tend to use the Bibles that include the Apocrypha, which are books that were originally in the original, and then we may have supplemental scriptures or other scriptures that we are using. We may not use scripture at all. We may use just sets of rules or sets of philosophies that came down through customs. And finally, it often focuses on the belief in deities or gods, religious texts, or traditions. Not always, but generally. So that's just a little primer on the differences. So spiritually is usually done by myself or with people who believe as I do, and often don't have as many strict rules or customs. So how do we incorporate spirituality into our lives? One thing I love to do is a nature walk. Uh, can I find things I didn't notice before? I do sometimes a walking meditation with my clients. So we can do this. So imagine that you are walking and you see a tree. The tree's about, I don't know, maybe 6, 7 yards away. In your mind, I want you to say, hello, tree. I see you there. I accept that you're there. I accept that I'm getting closer to you. I accept that now you are in my periphery. I accept that now you're behind me. Goodbye, tree. And you do the same thing with the next tree, or the bush, or the boulder, or whatever is around. It does not have to be in nature particular. It can be in your neighborhood. We can find nature in downtown Salt Lake City as much as we can in Harriman or Bluffdale or up in Logan or down in Springville. We can find those places in nature. So rock, pine cone, grass, the flowers, appreciating the beauty of the earth and the complicatedness of it. Writing or journaling, writing down what we are grateful for, what brings us joy, what brings us that sense of purpose. Journaling is a great way to do it, and we will do some collective journaling together. So again, I hope you have brought your something to write on and something to write with. Drawing again is that creative, tactile way of bringing our thoughts together. When I work with little kids, often it's easier for me to have them draw their feelings or draw what happened rather than have them tell me about it because they don't have that language yet. So if I know there are a lot of black and purple, red squiggles, that's going to probably be those bad thoughts or those bad things that are following them around. If they're using lighter colors, doing more open strokes, rainbows, things like that, that tends to indicate happiness or at least a management of the feelings. Not always, but again, it is a good way into those things. Coloring books were a big thing a few years ago. I don't know if they still are, but mandalas are certain patterns um, in Middle Eastern philosophy that create these patterns. They can be mazes, um, and people love to get lost coloring in them. There are coloring apps that help you do that as well. Yoga is about bridging the mind, the body, and the spirit. So it's about breathing and the poses, but it's about how we're moving through those poses. So you can do hot yoga, which is fast and heated, or you can do slower, more mindful yoga that again connects that body spirit. So it's about connecting those things. Dance. I do dance at my church. So rather than a choir getting up and singing a particular song, we may do a dance that illustrates the connection to the divine, whether worshiping or dealing with our problems or whatever that may be. So it's another way to move one's body, but also to connect to that spiritual side of ourselves. Listening to music. We know that music has great power. It can make us smarter. It can calm us down. Listening to any, really kind of any music, but music that helps us feel connected to the spirit does not have to be spiritual or religious music, does not have to be choir or anything like that. It can literally be any kind of music. And then also that leads to singing. When we sing, there's this great story about Mel Robbins talking to Oprah, where they're talking about anxiety, and Mel Robbins asked her, again, not condoning either of them, but I just liked this story that she said, Mel Robbins asked Oprah, what happens when you sing? She says, well, when I sing, I feel really connected. And then Mel asked Oprah, do you feel anxiety when you sing? And she said, no, I don't. And so they made that connection together, that the singing was connected to the vagus nerve and to that sense of openness and completion, and we didn't have that anxiety. And the vagus nerve, just in case you don't know, is a major nerve in our body, and it is connected to our sense of happiness, well-being. It is often known as the stress nerve. When we do exercise, we are any mindfulness, any prayer, any things like that that help us calm down from being upset. That is what we're stimulating, is that vagus nerve. So singing can do that, and finally playing an instrument. We can do visualizations. We can imagine ourselves walking in a path just like we did. We imagined ourselves walking with that tree, walking a labyrinth, walking meditation, which we just practiced. You can do a labyrinth. This labyrinth is actually in Salt, that you're seeing a picture of, is in Salt Lake. It's on, I can get the address. It is basically 17th South and about 1100 West. There's a path, and you can go to this labyrinth and walk it. There is also one, I believe, there used to be one at the Best Buy on 21st South, and I guess about what, 300, just east of 300 West. There's also one at the Unitarian Church in Midvale. That's about Highland Drive and about 6500 South. So there are some labyrinths around town. They're really cool. They're again based on medieval mythology, where people could not afford to go on pilgrimages. So that was to go to places to pray. People would go to Jerusalem a lot. People would go to famous churches. If you couldn't afford to do that, or if you couldn't leave your plowing or your farm long enough to do that, then you could go to a local church and walk these labyrinths. So those are really cool. Sitting, lying, or resting, not a spiritual practice. Never underestimate that. You're not being lazy. You are resetting your nervous system, or that vagus nerve. You are reconnecting to yourself and to the world around you, and perhaps to a higher power if that's what you want to do. So those things are important. Sitting still and listening. We talk about the still small voice of the creator or of nature or of the spirit that can come to us only when we sit in the silence. And then mindful doing. I sometimes walk people through this. I'm just, if you want to join me in this, we can, but we're gonna just mindfully take a tissue. You're gonna be like, what are you talking about? That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Okay, but we're gonna So I'm going to breathe in through my nose. As I breathe out, I'm just going to lift my hand and then breathe in again. As I breathe out, I'm just going to hover my hand over the tissue and then breathe out. And then breathe in. I'm going to pull the tissue and breathe out. Breathe in again, bring it to my face. Just tap my face. Just feel the softness. And then breathe out. And then breathe in. Say breathe out, crumple the tissue. Breathe in again. And say breathe out, deposit the tissue in the garbage can. I can do that with any activity I'm doing. I can do that as I'm chopping the banana for my breakfast. I can do that as I'm setting the table for dinner. I can do that as I am getting my kids into the car. I'm opening the door, they're climbing in, I'm breathing, I'm clicking them into their seats, I'm closing the door. I'm getting in my seat and pulling my seatbelt, breathing out, starting the car. You're like, that's silly, but I would say humor me and try to do an everyday activity you do mindfully. Just paying attention to the steps. And then finally, grounding. Grounding is very similar. It can be the quick grounding exercise is I place my feet on the ground. I feel my butt in my seat. I feel the chair against the back of my back. I feel my hands resting on my desk. And I'm just mindfully just sitting there, letting myself ground and feeling a little bit more okay. So now we're going to spend a few minutes on the writing exercise. So I'm free to take questions during this time. Um, a couple guidelines. You don't have to do anything, but mindfulness. So one thing we can see, touch, hear, smell, and taste. It could be five things in total, or you can focus on one thing. The mindfulness part of this will now to be, where would you be without that thing? And finally, gratitude. Why am I grateful for this thing? I'm just going to give us a couple minutes to do this. And if you have any question, please feel free to ask me. If you're doing this at home after this live workshop, you can pause during this time and then restart when you are ready. You finish the thought you were on. Take a nice deep breath and let's continue.
Hey, Jason, we had a question come in.
Yes.
They
What is
said, how do you get over a writing block? I used to love to journal, but now I really struggle with it.
So these prompts can really help. Sometimes just an observation can really help. So that's why this has been helpful for me. I try to not overanalyze. I try to what is one thing I could see is I see I see the little whale on my desk. I see the blue sticky pad. That feels silly and it feels like I'm wasting paper on it, but getting over that hump is just observational. What is a simple question? How do I feel? What am I grateful for? Sometimes prompts can really help. If I answer, and if all I do is answer those questions in my journal, then that's okay. I think two is talking to someone, whether that's a professional or whether that's a friend or someone, about maybe why I don't write or the reasons I tell myself I don't write. I don't have time. Um, Maybe something happened in writing. Maybe there is some trauma associated with writing. So there can be individual reasons for that lock. But often for me, giving myself a prompt has been really helpful. So there's five things I can, what can I see, touch, hear, smell, and taste? And I write that down. If that brings me to something else, Um, but sometimes again, not to push yourself or try to force yourself to write. I think that just increases the lock. So sometimes I'll tell people, if you're not finding right or having that writing block, can I sit with those feelings or maybe figure out what's going on? Or again, if I want to sort of be in a place where I'm quote unquote forcing myself, can I give myself some prompts? I hope that's helpful.
Okay, and then we had someone say, can you talk about journaling to help work through feelings?
Absolutely. So if we have a feeling, I'm guessing these are unpleasant feelings. So if I am feeling resentful, I can write, who am I mad at? What is that bringing up for me? And I let myself just feel what I need to feel. And then you can write, in a perfect world, how would I perhaps resolve that? Would I talk to the person? Would I ignore them? What does my body want to do? Where am I feeling that in my body? I feel really betrayed. I feel really hurt by someone I care about. That makes me really mad. It makes me want to write mean things about them, or it makes me want to do things. I don't have to do those things. I can write those things. I can write about the images that brings up. I'm feeling angry. I can write down what colors or what textures. That's why I like the five senses. What are my five senses doing when I'm angry? I'm probably not touching anything. I'm balled up, my fists are out, or I'm kind of hitting things, or I'm picking at my skin, or I am um, nitpicking other people. I'm really hard on my kids because I just had a fight with my partner. And again, the objective is not, or not always, it does not have to be about resolving that feeling. That's great when that happens, but sometimes it's about naming it. I've been walking around like a ball of stress and I didn't realize I was really mad. Sometimes naming it, even just speaking it out loud. Oh, I'm really mad. How's that anger manifesting in my body? What's that anger making me want to do? And what would then be the consequences of doing that thing? And then could I maybe then, does that lead me to doing something that feels healthier and feels more in line with my sense of purpose? Some other things to think about in our writing exercises about nature or beauty. Is there something in nature or something I have found beautiful today? I just want us to take a quick minute and just write down something in nature that we found, or what have we found beautiful today? I went to the dentist and I know what you're thinking. But my dentist is so nice and so just puts you right at ease and you can tell he really likes what he does. And so there's these bright shining eyes and just a great smile and it's just and you get to see these beautiful valley views from his office. And so there was beauty even in that, even though I had to, get poked and that kind of thing. So that would be mine today is that I saw the beauty in even going to the dentist. And then what are acts of kindness I have received? And what did those mean to you? Like, I didn't add to this is what acts of kindness I have done. And again, this isn't a contest. But again, if we're connecting to others through our spirituality, and that might help us with those feelings. So the my anger or my sadness, I felt really alone. I felt like no one's talking to me, no one wants to be with me. Um, and we could go into cognitive behavioral therapy and look at like why, how is that true and how is that not true? But in just sitting with the sadness, I can say, what does that sadness make me want to do? It makes me not want to do anything. But maybe by writing that feeling and makes me not want to do anything. But maybe I can say, maybe I can go to the store or I can um, talk to the person or I can just even send a text to a friend, not to explain what happened or to process through that, but to just get those acts of support. And that leads me to that act of kindness. Or I was sad, so I picked up an art book and I just looked through it, and there were some really, really beautiful pictures. And now I don't feel as sad or as alone. It didn't take it away entirely, but I connected to that part of myself. And as we wrap up here, Heather did a great job explaining the benefit, but remember that here at Blomquist Hill, we can help you with any life challenge. It's absolutely free, 100% confidential. Anyone who works here or for our companies or has or lives with someone who does, via phone or video counseling, ease of access, and someone can help you around the clock. We can do most days from 9 to 9. Saturdays, I think the hours are a little different, 9 to 3. We do have Saturday hours, we do have evening hours. So if you do need us. And there are free online presentations like the one you are attending, and also the Blomquist Hill app.
Hey Jason, we had a question come in.
Yes.
So they said, how do you get better? Sorry, I just moved. How do you get better at putting your faith in God when you feel like things are so out of control? My teenage son is lately not coming home at all some nights, and we don't know where he's going, and he's not giving us information about his friends, and I'm so worried about him. And I know I need to trust the higher power, and at the same time, I feel so scared for my son.
Yes, and I'm so sorry that's happening for you. And those things can often exist at the same time. Um, so what can we put faith in? I can put faith in that I have expressed my worry and have hopefully instilled in my son a sense of keeping himself safe. Um, I know that I can call people if I if I need to, police and things like that. Um, I urge you to not. The faith in God is wonderful. I would lean also into spiritual practice. What are things that I can do to express that worry and express those scared feelings, and to help those scared feelings, and to how can I connect to my higher power to let my son know that I love him and I am worried for him. And what helps me cope with that worry, I think you're on the right track. I think it's about leaning into your faith, into your spiritual practices. But there's also some practical things that you can do as well. You can let your son know that you're scared and that you're worried. You're not trying to control or worry ruin his life, but you are worried about what he may doing and what that that may look like. Um, it can be about reaching out to people in your community who are also going through similar things or have gone through similar things. And that is a vulnerability, but that helps to lean into it. And it's okay to be scared and it's okay to wonder if he will indeed be safe. Doubt is okay. I think faith to me is about no matter what happens, I will be all right and he will be all right. And even if it's not great or is bad, can God use that for good? But can also there are things I can do to move that along and not just leave it to fate. I hope that's helpful.
All right. Does anyone else have any other questions they want to send in? Okay, I don't. Okay, someone said, where would you start when you have had a break from your previous spiritual understanding slash religion?
Where would you start? That's a great question. Um, I would not try to go back yet. What I would do is redefine what spirituality means to me now. And what does a spiritual practice look like now? And I could try some of the things we talked about, like nature walks, writing, journaling, doing art. Um, if you've left a particular tradition and aren't sure to go back, I think it's really important to explore that. What parts of that tradition did I like, and what don't I like? And if there's something I didn't like, I need to then maybe ask myself, is that non-negotiable, or can I do this on my own terms and with rules that work for me? So maybe I don't want to, maybe I'm not yet ready to go to Sunday school and then go to church and do the after things. But maybe I could do some volunteering. Um, maybe I could go back into creating a spiritual practice that works for me. Um, I really liked going to the food pantry and helping the poor. And I can do that for different reasons than just tying to the spirituality. I can do it for myself and find a spiritual meaning in that. So that's where I would start. I would start small. Um, I wouldn't try to go back or try to go back the same way you did. It could be that's what works, but really be patient with yourself and really, and and expect some respect from those leaders or people. I'm gonna go slow and do this at my pace. Maybe I'll get back into some kind of meditation. And if that leads me back to prayer or back to my faith tradition, then that's great.
All right. And then I had someone messaged, how do they make an appointment? So you guys can just call that number that is shown on the screen right now and schedule an appointment. And like someone else said that responded to it, we also have a crisis line. So it's the same phone number. So you can call that number during normal business hours to schedule an appointment. But if you're in crisis, like say it's 2 a.m. and you're needing to talk to a therapist right at that moment, you can call that same phone number and they'll connect you with our on-call therapist. So you kind of have two options there. Okay, any other questions? And yeah, someone said, can you ask for a specific person for the appointment? Yeah, you can. So you can call, it will limit, let me back up. It'll limit the availability a little bit. So if you call and say you want to talk to a specific person, like say you wanted to just work with Jason, it might be a little bit until you can get in. But if you call, or if you call and say I want to work with a female who's younger, who is not LDS or is LDS or whatnot, it kind of limits it a little bit more, so it might be a little further out, but you totally can. It's totally up to you. So you can call and be as specific as you want, or you can call and just ask for the next available one and we can get you in pretty quick. So it's really your personal preference.
And I do believe that you can, the client advocates you answer the phone are really wonderful, and they can send you some profiles of people, of the therapist here, and you can choose one of them. Again, like Heather said, it can limit the availability. Um, but that certainly, if you want to see who you're dealing with, I do also believe the website does have some of that information.
Yep. So yeah, if you call and ask for the bio sheet, they'll send it to you. Online, we have on our news feed page some of our newer therapists listed on there. But we don't have all of them on there. So if you want the full list like by location, just call and they'll email it to you guys. Any other questions? Jason, do you have anything else? That was great.
I don't. It's been a delight, and don't be afraid to explore. I think again, there's no the thing. Right? I say spirituality and not religion is there's no right or wrong to do a way to do it. If we are connecting with our higher selves, our higher powers, there's no right way to do it. As Dolly Parton's character in Steel Magnolia says, "Honey, God don't care what church you go to as long as you show up." I believe part of it is about showing up, and how do we show up? And so that's what I hope you took away from today.